Thanks so much for coming, GooseBreeder, also known as Mounira. I believe it's Dobie, right? Dobie.
Dobie, yeah, you got it.
Dobie, the queen of CS herself. Super stoked to be talking to you today. Thanks for joining me for the inaugural Queue Up back in session. So thank you for being my first guest, dude. How you been? Long time no see.
I've been good. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to chat. Been doing good. Have you
Hell,
been?
not as good as you, dude. Crushing it, going to Stockholm. Congratulations.
Yeah.
What's it been like to qualify for NA, dude?
It's exciting. We've qualified like every season. That was like part of the ESL Impact tweet. Like we've made every final since Impact started. So it is a bit of like an expectation. I do think we're still like able to enjoy ourselves and appreciate like our work we put in. And I do think teams got better. You know, it's been a lot of seasons, and I do think NA has been a region that went from like no players to a ton of players. Of course, it takes time for those players to improve. So I do think like NA in general has improved a good amount. We didn't like slap every single team we played. I do think we won like a lot of convincing games, but people still like it gave us a bit of a run for our money. But I'm glad that we closed it out anyway. And we have our final match, which will be a bit of like an ego match, seeding match. We'll be playing Shimmer. So I'm looking forward to that game too. I mean, it's exciting. You know, it's the last like event that will ever be the last like Impact final. So it's important. It feels like good to be able to go to it. I'm just like happy about it, and the girls are as well.
Oh, dude, I never even thought of it as the frame of it's being the last one. Because I remember, like, the major, like, oh, this is going to be the last CSGO tournament ever. And then
Yeah.
now it's like, oh, this is ESL last tournament ever. Because it's
Yeah.
sadly.
Hopefully someone steps up in their place, but they did a lot for the scene, and it'll be a fun event for sure. I'm sure there'll be a lot of emotions for this one.
So any investors out there with deep pockets, if you want to save the CS scene, let us know. We got some ideas for you. All right. So, like you've been saying, dude, you've been in the scene for such a long time. You started when you were just a young pup, and now you're here. So I'm curious, like, what's the lore? What's the story? How'd you even get started? Well, let's go from the beginning and then we can kind of progress to where we are now. So tell me, how'd you even get started?
So I guess it kind of starts off with like growing up with brothers, a lot of like familiar story, I'm sure. I play games for fun. I kind of had my own computer around 12 or something, but you know, I grew up with a lot of brothers who like playing games, and one of my brothers liked Counter-Strike. I remember trying it when I was a kid, and I was so like unaware that I was like shooting my own teammates, you know, because I was like the enemy, and then I almost got kicked out of like a server, and I was like, no, I'm sorry, like I didn't know you're on my team. That was like when I was a little kid. So I played it like one time. The only other experience with Counter-Strike I had was like zombie mod. I played for fun. So I didn't play like the real game ever until I was 18. I think it was like the influence of brothers. And then when I was 18, I got sick of League of Legends. I played League of Legends for years. And I was like, I am so fed up with this game. Like, I'm just farming forever. It's so boring for me. You know how it is, you play League. So it's like you die one time and you're punished for 20 minutes. And I was like, screw this. I don't want to be punished for 20 minutes if I die one time. And the guy's like a sliver of an HP, you know, like it's so frustrating. But you know how like snowballing is. So I also think like for the ADHD, like it was not a good pacing for me. I was like, I want action. I want to like die, get up again and fight. I think waiting a minute in like 40 seconds, 50 seconds, like it's okay if you die, you can spawn in again and you have another chance in the round. So I think that's like what was fun for me in comparison to League is like, if I screw up, like I still have the next round. I still have the next round. That was back when we had more rounds to play with, of course. I started off that way, and it was just for fun. I like streamed and stuff. I was a really big noob, but I found it enjoyable, like playing the game. I made like friends along the way, like through matchmake. I would just be like, people would add me or I'd add, you know how it is, and then you would like queue up together. And I eventually like made like one of my first friend groups, and they were really cool. I still like know some of them to this day. They used to give me like advice. They'd be like, you know, they tell me how like the guns work and like all that stuff. And I think that I probably stumbled upon a pretty good friend group because I remember them telling me like, oh, like you're actually improving like super quick. And for someone who's like never played Counter-Strike, I was like picking it up well. I did have experience in other games that I could kind of apply Like I used to play a different shooter for like 5 years when I was a kid. I was like a free to play shooter called Soldier Front, but it does operate like very differently, but it's still like a lot of tactics, you know, like if you're getting like sandwiched, like you push the other side. Like there was things I could apply that I knew from that game. I was just growing really quickly in the game, and I was like inspired by that because I think I didn't like resonate with a lot of stuff around that age. Like I never really knew what I wanted to be. Like I felt like if I was gonna choose a path, it would just be like, I'm gonna just like pick something to pick something. I didn't gravitate towards anything at the time. So I think like feeling like I was progressing really fast was like a nice feeling, like addictive a bit. So I think that's like what kept me on Counter-Strike and just like enjoying myself. I eventually did get picked up by UB United at the time. So it was like that core roster was like my first ever team. And they gave me like a try. I haven't even played for like a year yet. So I kind of got like scouted by like one of the best women's team at the time.
I was gonna say, like, you're underplaying you said you started playing CS when you were 18, and mind you, for everyone out there, she turned pro when she was 19. All right, so in a year, she like went from picking it up and enjoying it, improving to turning pro. So I know that you're just like glassing over that one, but I just want to like say that was the trajectory. It was that much time. So which is kind of bananas when you really think about it. But anyway, continue. You're forgetting about that small little detail, or like not really highlighting. So I want to make sure that people understand the trajectory. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty impressive thing, I guess. Like,
yeah,
I know that there probably wasn't a ton of like selection, but there were players who were also like could have possibly played in my place, I guess. But I think that it was like a cool experience. It's what got me into like the competing side of Counter-Strike, where before I was just like a pugger and I just enjoyed pugging and that's all I did. And then I realized like, oh, I can go to like LAN tournaments. And I guess that's kind of like the story for a lot of women is like a lot of people in general, I think when you get hooked on like the LAN atmosphere, I think that's like what gets a lot of players is like, I mean, it's not just like an online game anymore. It's like something that you're flying to and you're competing against other people. And I think we placed like second or something in like my first event or something like that. So, I mean, I was on a pretty good team, luckily. So it's like, even if I was kind of noob, like they were still pretty good. It was kind of like a trial experience where they kept me on for a few months and then they let me go. Obviously, like I've only played a year. So it's like, what, you know, what you gonna expect from this like rookie player? So they did like let me go, but that's kind of like what started like a fire where I was like, oh, I'm gonna prove you guys wrong. And like, then I went and joined their like rival team in NA and I grinded with them for like a couple years. And we did eventually start like winning on that team. And that's kind of where I started. I think that's where I made a name for myself. Like I was placing really well in tournaments. I was doing very well at the time. And I think that's kind of where I like stood out. That's like where I made my debut, where I wasn't like a rookie anymore, but I was someone who could like beat the team that let me go. So that's kind of like how it all got started. And that was like forever ago. Now it's like, it's been a long time since then. And I've had like a complete like different like journey amongst all that other time. But that's kind of like how it got started for me.
Dude, it's really funny because you're talking about League and how like you would die and you'd be in Gracie for like 20 minutes. I'm thinking my experiences of playing CS or even Valorant, like holding this angle and just like waiting and waiting and then looking at the map and waiting and waiting. And like that for me is like super stressful and just like
torture. That's torture. I don't play
like,
that way though. I like to be aggressive, so
see, I need that old man up handicap. Like I just need something that's super strong to like make up for my shitty like positioning and shooting and stuff. So maybe that's a me thing. So when you're saying that you're coming up as like being a rookie and things like that, what was like the mentality shift from like, wow, everything's amazing, I'm a pro, to like getting kicked to your first team to like settling into being a veteran? Like what was the mindset shift over time?
Yeah, I think it's tricky because I do think I had a very good learning mindset when I started. I think like your mindset changes over time, of course, with like the amount of struggles. And I think being a rookie is like a very stress-free place to be, I think. Like literally there's not much on your shoulders. Like you're new, everything's fresh, like you're just grinding. Like I remember I was just grinding all the time. I had like an insane amount of pugs. Like I was one of those. I do feel like a lot of people when they were young probably had that. I mean, you just played like an unhealthy amount of the game. And that was pretty much me. I would just play all day, every day. I had like 90 plus pugs in a
Oh,
month or something. Yeah, I remember it was like actually over 100, and that was just like my wins or something. It was like ESCA used to tell you how many pugs you would play every month. So I had like a lot, basically, an insane amount of pugs. And it was just like fun for me. I would just keep queuing because I didn't have a team when I was like new. I just like used it to learn. Like even in pugs, I would try to learn. Like that was where I would improve, I guess.
did it ever flip for you, like from, yeah, I'm having so
Yeah.
much fun to like,
Oh
oh
yeah.
my God, this is a job now and I actually have to like focus on different things? Did you ever encounter that? And if so, how did you kind of get over it?
Yeah, I think it kind of like flipped the script a bit. Like being a player, there was stressors obviously, but like when I left Dignitas at the time and I joined CLG, it was pretty stressful for me. I mean, the team environment was very different. It was stressful in like different ways. As a player, it was stressful because I felt like I was a really good player and I had my style and my way of playing. And then when you join a new team, your identity kind of gets like shaken. And I
Mm.
had players at the time who were very heavy on the feedback and, you know, not always like giving it the best way. So I had to like learn to digest that and also learn to like, you know, put my foot down at some point and like stand up for myself. But I did have to like learn how to fit in this team. Your ego gets shaken a bit. I mean, when you're like young, like stats is a big thing, obviously. Like you just place like the number 1 or number 2 ranking in a tournament and you like won that tournament. Then you like play this other team and they're telling you like you got to change everything or whatever. They're just giving you a lot of feedback. Obviously, they want you to like fit into their system and they have their way of playing. So it's like it's not like a knack on them, but it's just like obviously it's growing pains when you go to a new team. So I kind of had to learn how to like battle with that in my own way. Like, how do I, okay, take what they're saying? How do I like still play the way I want to play? And it was like difficult as a player, but I've went through like so many different like stages. Like I had that stage. There's the IGL arc. There's my teammates leaving for Valorant arc. And there was like a lot of different stressors of different responsibilities. Like when my teammates left for Valorant, it was very challenging because North America like has never had a lot of players in the women's scene. Like right now
That's
is probably
true.
the most players I've ever seen in NA, like ever. When I was competing, we were like 2-3 teams tops, and now there's tons of teams. When we had the most experienced players leave the game to go to Valorant, it was very challenging because I became like the only experienced player on my team at some point. Like I was the only one who was like still around. And I do think it's like very challenging to like bring up a lot of green players at once. I would consider them rookie because they're not like tested on LAN. They haven't played in a lot of tournaments. So I do think that was very challenging for me. Being a new IGL while also having like a lot of rookies, it was like there was its own stressors there.
Yeah, so wait, before we get too far ahead, I'm so curious,
Yeah.
dude. Like, how do you even get GooseBreeder? Like, do you breed goose?
Yeah.
You really like to fly away home? Like, how did you get this, like, IGN, dude?
It did start from League. I had a friend that I would duo because you could duo queue rank. So I
Yeah.
had a duo queue friend. His name was like GooseBreeder, and he was also Canadian. I mean, at the time, like I didn't want to have like a girly name. Also, like my name is easily like, you know, people don't have a easy time saying it. So I wanted like a new alias at the time. I never really had like a one alias that I like really liked. I had like a nickname called like Momo for a while,
Aw.
but like uh I didn't want I just wanted to change it up. So it was kind of just like a joke thing. I was like, oh, like we're both Canadian, like I'll just like rhyme it. So I just like rhymed it and then Goose Breeder. It wasn't like a crazy story, but then I switched to like CS and I was like, you know, what do I want my name to be? I don't really want to make it my name. So I just made it like something silly. I just kept it and I didn't really care to change it. And there was a point where it's like, oh, it's pretty silly name. At the time, I remember thinking like, oh, well, like don't need to be like serious about everything. It was like just a silly alias to take like joy in, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you actually had like a logo, there's so many things that we could do with this. But I do honestly think it's such an iconic name. Like everyone's like, once they hear Goose or GooseBreeder, like, ah, we know who that is. That's such like a
Yeah,
landmark name.
it
So I
was
love
a
it.
smart branding.
Yeah,
There's not many
absolutely.
goose breeders on
The
in
earth.
esports.
Yeah. For you, did you always start as an IGL, or like you said, there was like the rookie year and the IGL year, and then the people leaving for Valorant Exodus? But like, how did you even fall into leading teams or like being an IGL? Is that something that you needed to train in, or is that something more that you're just naturally insightful into?
I think it's a mixture. I don't feel like I was a perfect IGL from the get-go. I feel like I understand people well, or at least from my POV, I think I do. I think at this point I've proven that I do. I feel like naturally I was always like interested in how people's minds work and stuff. I think even at a young age, I was always like interested in learning about like the mind. So I think that like part of that definitely influenced like eventually going into IGL. I think what kind of flipped the switch for me, there was a point in time where I was like grinding demos like a lot. Like a lot.
Mm.
I was like watching them every day, like multiple a day, like taking a ton of notes. I was just like studying the game a lot. And I think it was something I wanted to switch into. There was a place where I became frustrated with our current results on the team. And I mean, I do think like the IGL before me, like she was a good leader. It wasn't a knock on her, but I do feel like I was frustrated that we weren't improving and I had
Mm.
like a different vision. And I thought that we needed to do things a different way to become like a step above. I feel like I understood a lot about like the tier one scene, or I could give us like an advantage with like the way I saw the game, or like what I thought was needed to take us above. Because we were kind of just placing the same every season. And I was getting kind of fed up with that because like we were actually a very good women's team. We placed well in a lot of it, but then like COVID hit and then it's like
Uh,
no longer any international things to play in. So I think that like period of time had me reflecting a bit because all we played in was like mixed Counter-Strike and like
mm.
some women's Counter-Strike. And a big goal of mine was always to like hang with the mixed scene as well. I just thought I had a good perspective on like how we could structure things or how we should play, what our time outside of the game should look like. That's kind of where it started for me, where I was like, I think I want to IGL. I don't know if I like came about it in the best way, but I think that was my mindset at the time when I wanted to IGL. And then at some point, like the switch happened and I got into the role and I just like committed to it. Even if it wasn't like the prettiest thing, it is very hard to go into IGL at
Yeah,
the game.
dude. Just even to make
Yeah.
that decision of this is something that I really want to do. And the really interesting thing that you said too was like I knew people, or like I think I have a pretty good read on people, and then I started studying the game, and I paired those two things together because I saw a different need, or I thought I could take a different angle of leading a team or calling a team in general. So I think it's really really cool how you found that as a strength of yours, and then you got interested in game and you mixed them together. So like, what's the process of like actually becoming that? Is it like studying? Is it calling? Is it like learning about people more? Like, what was your process of like becoming the IGL that you are today?
Yeah, I think IGL is definitely like the hardest role
Oh, dude.
of course. Like I think every role has its necessities and what you need to be good at. And by all
Absolutely.
means, like there are some things that people are good at that you just like you have it or you don't kind of thing. And it goes for like a lot of roles. Like really good mechanical players, like it is hard to just like become really solid mechanically like out of nowhere. Like you can train your mechanics, you can get better, but some people are just like very good like out the rip at that. And maybe they're not very good with like people skills or like something else. And it's kind of like similar where like by saying like I think it's the hardest role, it's not to like discredit other roles because I think they complement each other, but I do think that it's like by far the hardest thing to do. And it's a lot easier to just be a player and just like do your thing and focus on yourself. But like the IGL is like you kind of have to be the jack of all trades. You have to
Part-time
like
psychologist, part-time strategist, part-time
yeah,
like play
part-time
caller.
like yeah, take your pick of what part-time thing you have to do, but it is like a big juggling act of like finding balance between a lot of things. I would say that like the very obvious stuff is you need to understand the game well. You need to be like quick on your feet, quick thinking. I do think you need to be very like level-headed, but I do think that like leading is not it is your own journey. It's not a one size fits all. I do think it's like a place where you have to really understand yourself and what you bring to the table, and be realistic, because there are things that I am good at and that there are things that I'm not good at. Inherently, like having ADHD makes me like struggle with other things. I think that like being real with yourself and knowing like what your strengths and your weaknesses are, you can now like leverage your team. Having a lot of like awareness of yourself and the people around you, I would say, is very important to be a leader. I would say like obviously knowing the game well, like the strategy stuff is very obvious. Like you obviously need to be good at that as a leader. I do think like this is where like it gets like a bit like dependent on the person and the people around you. But I would say that like in a perfect world, I think you should have like very good people skills, or you need like a coach or like a wingman. You need balance. You don't have to be the most energetic person, but you probably need someone on the team who is energetic. Really leveraging the people around you to compensate for like what you need in a team. So I think as a leader, you can kind of be a lot of things, but I do think you need to be a stable person with like a strong mental, or at least a good enough mental. Because my mental's not like perfect. Even after a decade, I'm still gonna get tilted. I'm
Stop
still
selling
gonna
yourself
like,
short. Your mental is it's solid. So chill. Yeah, it's improving over time. Yeah.
But I do want to preface that like it's not perfect. And that's okay. That's okay. I've gotten better at understanding that you don't have to be perfect. But I just want like people to know that too, because like just because you're the leader doesn't mean you're never gonna tilt. Like, I mean, you can watch Apex, like that guy's always tilting off the planet of the Earth, but like it works for them. They have like their own system, whatever. He's got his like methods that work for him, I'm sure. But I think you can like try to be the best version of yourself, but also just like accepting who you are is really important. And just like catering to that. Like I know that I'm not the most hype person on the team. I tried this phase of like motivational, like come on guys, like we got this, and it just like it doesn't work for me. It never works. I never won a round because I was like, guys, we got this, stay in it. I've never had my team like win the game because I said that. Like my team has always won games because I was level-headed and I called a good game and I kept us like in the game and us focused. And like a round would go wrong and I would call something and I would get us like out of the hole. I think at the end of the day, like I think answers are really important as a leader. You need to like have the vision of how we're going to win, or at least like a good amount of that. There's going to be games you don't have that vision, and that's kind of where like you need to lean on your teammates. Like start using like what we got, like what's the gaps. That's where you start like using your players. I used to take like way too much on my plate. And especially like having like the rookies for a while, like I kind of had to do a lot. Like I had to do a lot all the time. It was kind of unrealistic to be like 100% GooseBreeder a game every game to win games. Like you're not going to be 100% every game. So you kind of need like fail safes on your team in case your player is like this and that. But like, what if your IGL is like slumping? It is a responsibility. Like I understand that if I'm not like A or B game, there's a high chance we lose if I'm C game, like actually, because like I'm such a like pivotal part of the team. Like I'm the leader, I'm calling the shots, I'm, making sure that our mental is strong. But then it's like, if your players, they have a lot of good like foundational stuff. Like if your team is really solid mentally, you have a couple like really smart players, or you have like really sharp shooters, like they can kind of bail you out. Like you can leverage like the players who are popping off if you're not having the best game yourself as a leader. But I do think it is like a role that has a lot of responsibility.
Like, as I'm listening to you speak, I'm picking out a couple different themes. You're saying, oh, as an IGL, like you need to find your own style, or it's okay to be yourself, and bringing that to the table as, your strengths. And so for you, it sounds like your strengths are the things that really make, or at least your style of IGLing would be like being level. Sounds like you're being very focused and also being very like people orientated. And it's like these three things that you're using to kind of move the game along. The other thing that was really actually really interesting was sometimes you're not going to always have the answers. And what happens is I go down, then you have to lean on your players. When you said that, I was like, that's actually really interesting because in how many other places do leaders say, like, what do you guys got? It's not like I need to lead all the time, or if I don't have the answers, then it sucks. It's like, no, no, no. If I don't have the answers, it's almost like ender game action where it's like, okay, you guys, we're a team together. Give me information so we're getting really good decisions together. What is that
Yeah.
like to trust and be free? And was that something that you needed to learn, or is that something that you just were able to incorporate off the clip?
I had to learn that for sure. I was not like, I almost put too much responsibility on myself. It's a bit of like a double-edged sword where like you're a really good leader. You're like, know all the right things or whatever. But it's like, you're not always going to have the answer. There is like a million variables when you're playing like 6 maps. You'll never be like 100% up to meta on like all 6 maps. Like it's actually really difficult. Like unless you've been with the same team forever and like you're just it's honestly like impossible. Like even tier 1 teams, like they have maps people punish pick on. Like it doesn't matter what level you play. That's why teams will have like their best like few maps and like they're okay on those maps or they're good, and then their one map they're like, man, we fucking suck at this map. Sorry, but like yeah, you suck at this map.
It's Nuke.
And it's like the same, yeah. Nuke is hard for a lot of players. Understanding that myself, that I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to know everything. And trying to lean on my players when I need to is important, because if you can't like trust your players, it's a really weird dynamic. Like I do think that it is really important to also like build the confidence in your players by assigning them some responsibility. Like they need to feel trusted as well. Like if I'm giving input to my IGL and like she never listens to me, like that's such a like blow to confidence. Or like, dude, like why doesn't this person ever listen to me? Like I'm telling you this is the idea, like I'm telling you this is the gap, and you're not like listening to me or something. Like if you're repeatedly shutting down your players or not relying on them for anything, I do think that is a fault as a leader. I think it's important to like foster that confidence also for your own sake. Like I think by realizing like I'm never going to be perfect and I'm going to have games where I just am not reading the game very well. Everyone has like their ABC game, right? Like some people stop shooting or whatever. But as a leader, it's like you're really calling the game. You're really feeling it well. And then your B game's like you're calling pretty good, whatever. C game's like maybe I'm just like, man, like my mind is blank, like don't have an idea. And like, what if that happens in like the most important game of your life? Like it might happen. But if you like can't lean on your players, like you're basically accepting you're gonna lose. So I'd rather have like a safety net. What if I'm playing that bad? I need something to like fall on. You have your coach who can pause for you, but that's like you only get a couple pauses a game. Like then you kind of like want to lean on like your players. The player who has like ideas a lot, like that's who you're probably gonna rely on. Or you're gonna be like, man, I'm not shooting very good. I can't like open up the round. Yeah, I'm gonna like look at my player who's super sharp, and I'm gonna be like, we're gonna set her up and let her see if she can just win the round for us. Sometimes players will just like, you'll get them out and they'll just get kills, and like you don't even need to think that hard about the game. Like they've already won you the round. You just go to the place that you've killed everybody. So it is like good to have like multiple ways to win rounds. If you're too like narrow-minded or you don't have enough like variety, then I do think that there'll be days where like you just lose games because you don't have a fail-safe or something like that.
Yeah, when you're listening to you speak, it kind of reminds me of this like perfect analogy for anxiety. When people think about anxiety, if this is like a table, right, and there's like a cup teetering, anxiety is like focusing on the cup, like, oh my god, it's gonna fall, what's gonna happen, right? But what you're saying is like, instead of focusing on this, what I'm focusing on is if it falls, this is what I'm gonna do. Like I'm not even focus on the oh no-ness, because if it falls, I have a A plan, I have a B plan, and a C plan. And also I have other people that I can kind of lead on to make sure I can put them in the position so they can compensate for me. And that's a solution. Because I think so many people get so focused on the, what's happening? I'm not in my A game. I can't even tell people this, because if I tell people this, then they're also going to go down, versus we can create a system where if I say that I'm down, then we have fail safes for people to step up, or other people can generate ideas for the team. So I think that's a really interesting perspective as like an IGL of where your focus is in the game and how you're utilizing your players to make sure that those gaps are filled.
Yeah, I think it's important because I think that like your anxiety can really like let go a bit. The thing is like when you're faced with problems that you don't feel like you can handle, that's where
Mm,
like your anxiety goes crazy because you don't believe that you can get through this issue. For example, I don't stress super hard if I can't shoot. Obviously, like it's still annoying, it's still stressful, but I have like other ways to play the game. When I was a player, I would give ideas. I would just start giving ideas. I'd focus on like just like trade me, like, just trade me. Like, I'm just gonna jump for you, bro. Like, I'm just gonna jump for you. You trade me, like, this, whatever. Even as a player, you need like things to rely on. Like, if you're shooting, you're not shooting, then you need like other strengths. And in Counter Strike, like, shooting is a big part of the game. It is like important to like get yours. But if you can't get yours, then you do obviously need other options. At least make sure you're communicating well. If you're not doing well and no one can tell, that's a good thing. Like obviously I can tell if like they're 3King every round, right? But if their comms are like very good, there's sometimes you can't even tell your teammate has like 2 kills until you like hit tab. And that's like a good thing. That means they're like compensating. If you can tell your teammate's having a really bad day, like, I mean, nobody's a perfect, of course. Like, you're gonna have days you don't present yourself the same, but it is a really good thing if you make it hard to tell. You're still communicating even if you can't shoot, or if you're not communicating super well, like maybe at least be really solid. Like it depends, because like not everybody's really good at communicating. Maybe being really good at punishing like your position. The TLDR is like have multiple things that can win you the round or that you can help your team with if you're failing in one department.
it's like leading on whatever you can. The nice thing about being an IGL is I think sometimes you get a little bit more grace just if you can't shoot because you're like doing so many things. It definitely feels bad if you can't shoot back.
If you
So
can't shoot and you're a player, it's worse because it's like, that's your job. Yeah. You're like, my job's to shoot. So,
I'm thinking about you being an IGL, and the number one thing that I keep hearing you say is like control or knowing what you can control or what you can focus on. I was just literally talking to a player today, and they were saying, like, when I play my game, I take so much ownership of the things that are happening, good and bad. But then because I'm taking so much ownership, like I get tilted or I don't know what to fix because I feel like everything is my fault in the end. I'm wondering for you, how do you balance as an IGL knowing what is yours and in your control and in your responsibility and then being able to let go and I guess maybe even holding your players accountable for the things that they need to be doing. So what was that journey like?
yeah, I think it is a tricky balance because I do think to be a good leader, I think accountability is important. It's also important not to misdirect someone else's accountability to yourself because that also doesn't solve anything. Like I used to be like, man, like why are we losing? Like I feel like I called so good, but we're still losing rounds. There is a point where you're kind of doing a disservice to your team by like not actually understanding where the problem lays. And it doesn't mean you need to blame somebody, but it means you need to like, this player is responsible for this. Are they upholding like their responsibility? Our team is like very healthy to the point where I can just ask. I'm like, guys, like what went wrong? Like, was it the strat? And somebody's like, no, I just whiffed. Like, I just messed up. And like, it helps to have like players who can be accountable because I'll be like, man, like my bad. Maybe I should have called it a bit clearer. Because being clear in your communication is like a responsibility of the leader. You can't like string on long sentences and not understand why your teammates are lost. Like if I just said an essay to Felicia, like no wonder Felicia doesn't know what I'm asking of her because I made her listen to like 30 words and like pick it all up in a stressful situation. It is important that like you know what your responsibilities are, but you also know the responsibilities of your teammates. Like if I made a clear comm and my teammate is like lost in the sauce, it's good to have grace for your players, but it's good to know like it is their responsibility to like be able to digest like basic information. Vice versa, it's important to know like what you're responsible for. But I also think some of that can stem from like having grace for yourself and for others. Sometimes you might not be doing the thing that you are supposed to be doing well. And I think in a live setting, I don't think that like feeling sorry for yourself is the best thing to be doing when you need to win a game. Yeah, it's not the time to like ruminate on those thoughts, I guess. Like it is good to reflect after the game. Like, man, I really did this poorly. I do think those are things you kind of have to let go if those feelings are holding you back. That would be my like advice is like having some grace for yourself and others, but also like understanding whose responsibility it is to handle what. If I'm understanding what's happening and I know for a fact like that was a good call, it should work, and the timings were good, then at some point it is like on the team to execute. And then possibly like maybe the other team is just countering your call. Like they just did something that perfectly counters like what you wanted to do. And then it's like accepting that and moving on is important too. Like that's just unlucky. Now you just need to think like, okay, now it's just mind games. Like, what am I going to do now? What are they going to do? Like, they just shut me down. And it's kind of, you have to make like good decisions quickly. Like there's a lot of factors you could be thinking of. And it's like a lot of mind games when it comes to like caller to caller. Is that caller going to like do the same thing? Are they going to change it up? And then it's like, if my call just got shut down, like, do I need to do a different call? Do I need to do the same call but do something different? There's a lot of things you need to think about. And that's kind of like, that's like where your mind should go rather than like being upset about it for too long. In a post-game setting, it's okay to like reflect longer.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And the thing that I was listening to and the way I translated this is like, in a different perspective, it's almost as if you're being selfish if you have too much ownership, quote unquote, or responsibility for everything that's happening. Because if you're being too selfish and taking it from other people, then now you're compensating for or changing the team play because now you're owning too much and not letting the other players do what they're supposed to do or their agreed upon roles to make the team run. So it's almost as if once you get to that point, you're over owning it. You're now almost the problem.
Yeah, but it becomes a problem. At that point, you're over controlling, right? And controlling people, you're not giving like other people room to breathe. And I don't find the game enjoyable if you can't like have any identity in the game. Some people like being soldiers and they're fine with that. Some people want to have ownership of the round. They want to be able to call for things that they think are going to work. And it is important to know what kind of players you have. Some players really could not care if you just tell them what to do every single round. Some players want to be able to feel their side of the map. They want to be able to give input and have autonomy in their positions. Knowing your job is also very like team dependent too. Within the round as your own role, there is like very obvious things that are your job, but like in a team dynamic, things can be delegated. Like you can delegate like jobs for your wing players. And you can delegate jobs for the pack players. Like your wing players could be tracking things for you rather than you doing it. I've like also come to understand like I just don't have the mental capacity to do like this many things. Like I cannot consistently track this kind of information. Sometimes I'm not in the position to see things. Sometimes it's just like too much for my brain to like juggle. So I need like, listen, it's going to be like your job to do this for me. Like this is what I want from you. Like, can you do that? If they're down skis, then there you go. Now you know what this player is responsible for, like in that department. And then you can count on that person. And then if that person doesn't do that, then it's like, now you can keep them accountable because you've like agreed upon like something that they're responsible for and they're down for that and they know they can do it.
Something else I really love that you're saying too is even the way that you're thinking is like, yeah, if I stay here with these negative thoughts or how that sucked or how it didn't work, then, or they're just reading my plays, if I stay here, I die because I'm not really focused on the other things that I need to be focused on. Like, how do I not die the next round? Or what are they doing so I can put my players in a correct position or not be there? Or how do I counter what they're playing? And so it sounds like it's a very like forward moving mindset, even though it sounds like you still like acknowledge that was bad. I didn't like that. That felt terrible. What was that like for you to try to shorten that lag time and shift your focus from what you don't like, how it sucks, to I accept this and I'm going to go forward? Because I know a lot of players get stuck there too.
I think it's not easy. I think it's a wombo combo of a few things. Sometimes it helps to address like why you get stuck on those feelings. Like maybe you're feeling guilt or maybe you have bad self-talk or whatever. I do think the core of the skill that's necessary is the ability to let go of thoughts and to redirect your thoughts. I do think that's the fundamental skill that allows you to stay on task. I think that some thoughts are harder to let go of than others. And it kind of depends like how down bad you are too. Like if you're getting like kicked down, and you can't like catch a break, like maybe you need to rely on your teammates to like help you if you have like a nice system. We kind of have a nice system in our team where we have a lot of fail safes. And I think we have a lot of ways to keep each other up. And a lot of that helps with like understanding what players like to keep them in a good vibe, or at least keep them out of bad vibes. Or if you're going to be in a bad vibe, that you don't sit there very long. It's like a skill you would train like any other. I think when you notice yourself in those spots of thinking about useless thoughts, I've learned a lot of things over time that help me understand like what a thought even is. Like, do I give a lot of weight to this thought? Like, what does this thought even mean? Like, it doesn't mean anything about me. It's just a thought. Like, there's a lot of like layers I've learned to be able to like understand that like when a thought comes, it's just a thought and I can just redirect it. I could throw it out. I could just focus on something else. It's a skill I kind of had to learn. I also think with like having ADHD, it's like, you're getting mad reps. You're getting mad reps on that skill because like your focus is just like brown. You have to keep it like here, keep it here, keep it here. Like watch it, go for like a walk, and pay attention to how many times your eyes just drift everywhere. Like my eyes are just like like they're just everywhere, and realizing that, and it's just a skill of like redirection, and I think there's like a lot of nuance to it. Again, like being able to let go of the thought to begin with might be like maybe baby steps, right? Like try to let go of, like accept this thought, let go of it. Maybe that's the baby step. The next step is like picking something to focus on. And then I would say the level up from there is just like doing it fast, like reducing the time that you're spending on thoughts you don't want to have. Like thoughts you don't want to be like spending too much time on. And I'm talking like match settings. Like match settings, it's very important. I do think like when you're not in a match, doesn't always matter that much how quickly you like get through this. But I do think that like it is a good skill to build for a lot of reasons, like even mental health reasons. Like you're feeling bad. Like sometimes you just spend too much time like on like lame thoughts and they don't like serve you. And that skill still applies to like real life, even when you're not in a match. It's like I'm having a lame thought, feeling bad, and I'm just like, I don't know, maybe I have a tendency to just like ruminate on bad thoughts. And it's like, what does that even get me? Sometimes it's like, it's important to like problem solve, to ruminate, to like problem solve on something. And sometimes it's like useless. Like this thought I'm having is useless. It is like your actions that define you. And I kind of had like a cool conversation once a while ago with like a friend of mine. And we talked about like, I guess it's like your values and like the things you want to be doing, like your actions. Like what do you value, and the actions that like lead you to the life you want, I guess. Your thoughts may be things you don't like. Maybe you feel bad about them, whatever. Like we have a million thoughts, probably way more than that a day. And there's probably a lot of things we think about that maybe we kick ourselves, maybe we do whatever. Maybe we're judgmental of others, like
or even ourselves.
When you don't, of yourselves, of others. Like maybe you just have a lot of negative thoughts and maybe that's like hard for you. But I do think there's like power in like understanding that and like realizing that it's a lot about like the choices you make in those situations and what you decide to do with like your actions. Because like your thoughts can be whatever, and they can also be like changed over time, like reprogrammed. In its own self, it's like that is the skill, but I do think there's a lot of layer that it like really depends on the person. Like, why are they getting stuck? Like, I think exploring the why can be helpful, but I think that like in the end, the skill you need to learn is like, how do you let that go? Maybe that's where they need to discover the why, because they can let it go. Maybe it doesn't matter the why, and they just are comfortable like letting go of those thoughts and redirecting their attention. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's like a lot of nuance, but yeah.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, and I love the step-by-step process. And I guess from my perspective, it'd be kind of like acknowledging like you're having this thought, because I love what you're saying about thoughts, because I think so many people think if I think it, then it's true. It must be true. But if you actually like listen to what you're saying, most of the time they're like observations, like, oh, there's that thing. Like, oh, it wouldn't be cool if, or just they're not capital T truths. They're just things you're thinking. And if you're actually able to put some distance, even some of those negative thoughts, like my brain is thinking this, or my busy brain is talking to me this way. If you're able to actually see it from more distance, you actually see like, oh, it's not true, which is really interesting. So once you're able to acknowledge you're having this thought, the other thing that I love that you're saying is like, okay, I accept that. Once I have this thought, okay, objectively, I'm gonna accept that this is the situation I'm in. There's no value in it. This is what it is. And then the last step, you're like, okay, I can act. I can do something now that I see the lay of the land. I can choose to do something else, or I can choose to stay here. What do I want to do? I
Yeah.
definitely do think that's an awesome skill for everyone to learn, because I do think it does help you let go, be free, refocus on the things you want. And I love that you said it's a skill too, because listen, if this is your first time trying to do this thing, it's going to be really important that you understand that if you're trying this in a live game situation, that maybe your gunplay or your game might go down a little bit because you're focused on this skill and maybe not so focused on the crosshair in front of you or what people are doing,
Yeah.
because you are paying attention to what you're doing, what you're thinking, and then trying to let go to refocus on the game. So
Yeah. You
I
only
think
have so much capacity.
absolutely. I love that we're talking about skills. I love we're talking about how to develop these skills. So when people or whoever tries to do the things that we're saying, just to acknowledge that's a skill today. That's the one thing they're going to work on, just like you would your aim or your positioning, if that's what you're trying to focus on after watching demos, for example. So don't get it twisted. If you focus on these types of mental skills, your performance might go down just because you're focused on something different. And that's going to take your attention away from other things too.
Yeah. It's like an investment in yourself. Like you might go down a little bit for a brief period of time. And this is something you can practice in scrims or practice in like any situation, even a pug, honestly. But I like what you said about observation, because that is like something that kind of clicked with me really well. It was like, I mean, I like the picture of it. The picture was like your thoughts, your actions, and then like the choice, creating more distance between like your thoughts and like the choice you make. I think you can like observe things and then like, is this a useful thing or not? Is this what I want or is it not what I want? And then like having that space to observe your own thoughts is really helpful. And it also helps you not be impulsive and whatnot. So I actually like what you said about the observation thing too.
Because even if you like think about it, right? Like, all right, if you're that person that likes to beat yourself and shit on yourself and all, okay, the first thought is, how does this serve me? What's the purpose of this? Some people will say, so I never forget again. Okay, how oftentimes do you remember the thing that you shit on yourself for? I don't. Okay, so same player I was talking to, and they're like, does self-talk matter? The things that I tell myself matter? And I'm like, yeah. I'm gonna finish the sentence, like, yes, it does.
Yeah.
Why?
Cut it short. Yes.
Yeah, yes. How come? Well,
I mean, it rewires like your whole everything, like your brain, everything. It's like okay if you do have, I mean, it's not okay, but it's like okay to accept that you have like poor thoughts. I think a lot of people kind of do. You've heard like a million like cliche quotes of like, if you think you are or you aren't, like you're right kind of thing. I think a lot of confidence comes into play with that kind of stuff too. Like feeling like you're worth more, you know, you don't have to poop on yourself.
yeah, and I mean, if you're always pooping on yourself, that's what you're focused on versus the other things like you're saying. How can you leverage your strengths if you're not thinking about them?
Yeah, let's like focus on something productive. That's like a golden rule for my team. I'm very big on like what we say and what we do is like something that we can take action on. And I'm not even like perfect. Sometimes like I'm being the menace on the team too, like, you know, and I'm not like focusing on something important, and I have to catch myself too. It is like my rule, but it's like doesn't mean I'm perfect at it. But yeah.
All right, so dude, we covered so many things today. We talked about where you've come from, YCS, the IGL, the mindset, the processes. And I'm so curious if we're gonna round this thing out, if you were going to speak a message to your 19-year-old, 18-year-old self starting this journey, what information, what pieces of knowledge, what would you want to tell them as they progress through the scene?
I feel like there is a lot of things that are important, I guess, but I think if we're gonna focus on like mindset, I mean, honestly, I do think like the ability to direct like your focus is really important. I do think that like focus is kind of it's like a powerhouse where if you have a lot of control on like where your mind goes, I do think that it'll help you perform. I think there's like a lot of things in like a lot of different games people play. So I feel like their focus and their mindset is like important. And I don't think that you have to be like a happy-go-lucky person. I don't think it serves anyone to be like overly negative. And I do think like some of these thoughts like serve a purpose sometimes, because you do need to like reflect on your mistakes. And it's not like, you know, you don't have to like protect your ego like, oh, I'm a perfect person, but it is all like a balance. So I would say like in a live setting, I think it's important to control your focus and focus on like the game and what you're doing at hand. Like outside a game, I think it's like fine to reflect on things. And even if certain thoughts arise, I would say like distancing a bit and like reflecting on those thoughts, like if they are serving a purpose or if they're just like negative thoughts that are coming up. There's like a lot of things you could give advice to, and it's tricky because like I've been playing for 10 years and I've had a lot of different things I've had to learn throughout that period of time. But I do think that is probably a staple that can help anybody, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially like young people who might not have like a lot of experience.
And the killer thing of that is that's not just like a in-game thing. I think that you've learned it, honed it, trained it in game, but that's definitely a life skill that you can apply anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it helps you from being like impulsive, from making poor decisions in life. Like, you know, maybe you have an important decision, and I think just not being like impulsive in general, like and by distancing yourself, it also helps. Yeah, I don't know, my camera kind of just pooped itself. It's just like I don't want to work anymore. I'll just keep talking.
Yeah, keep talking. That's what I was gonna say. Keep talking, dude.
I do think that in general, it's a good life skill to have. I mean, I've spent a lot of like work on improving my own mental health, and I do think that there's a lot of power in like perspective and being able to step back and reflect. I do think like live match situations is like kind of has its own code. I do think you need to be like very snappy. You do have to be very like quick with your decisions and letting go of decisions. You need to really iron that skill basically so that you can do it at like a second's notice. You're not tilted for more than like a few seconds. You know, if it takes you 3 rounds to until like you've already potentially lost 3 rounds because you're tilted, rather than like recognizing you're tilted, let it go, you spawn back in, you're thinking of the next thing. Like it does make a difference if you can continue that kind of habit. And I think outside a game, it is important to like understand if you're feeling upset, to like reflect on it and think about like what you're going to say or how you're going to behave or what you're going to take from this. And is it going to be like useful or not? And I do think it's like really important because, you know, you summarize well, like the main things as an IGL. I think like culture is also very important too, where like I'm a big believer on like how you treat others. And I think that like something that's very successful in my team is like no matter win or lose, like how we talk to each other will always uphold a certain standard. And I think it also applies to yourself too, where it's like when you lose a game, you know, you might want to beat yourself up. You might want to, you know, trash on your teammates or find someone to blame. And I think that like in those moments of like weakness, it is important to reflect on yourself and like just take a step out of your perspective, you know, see the situation, I guess. And I think that like the more you can take a step away from your own perspective and then go back into like your situation, it is a very good tool to have. And I think it'll help you even like with honestly anything you do.
Yeah. Hell yeah, being able to take that as perspective. I love what you said. How about this, dude? When you come back from Stockholm, I'd love for us to talk again because I think I know we talked off stream last night for a while about like culture, how to create a culture, all these things that IGLs can do to kind of solidify relationship in the team and how that actually can benefit them. So how about this? When you come back from Stockholm, let's do it again. I'd love to host you again. Maybe I can wait where I can do this a little bit more and work out all the kinks with the technical difficulties. So thanks so much for coming. But I'd love to have you back, especially after that experience overseas. But I guess today we'll end with, all right, so shout outs for you. Selfless plugs, where can people find you? All those kinds of things, girly.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. It's where I'm the most active. I do have a Twitch and Instagram and stuff like that, but I think Twitter is like the thing I use the most. You can find me. It's just GooseBreeder, and most of my stuff is GooseBreeder. My Instagram's like GooseBreeder CS. I see there's a question.
I was gonna say that as well. Yeah, I was gonna say, do you have time to answer this question? So this question is from Dr. Jeeves. What advice would you have for someone who wants to go pro in FPS but started late and feels like it's too late to start? And they said late in age.
I personally think that age isn't really anything. Age in itself, I don't think is like a big factor. I think it's like what happens when you age. So like,
oh shit,
you have kids you have responsibilities or whatever. Like, I think youngins, it's like the game is fresh for them and they have nothing else to do a lot of the time, or like, ultimately, I think those are the main things. Where you grow older, maybe you want to have kids, maybe there's like other responsibilities that have like shifted in priority. I also think money is obviously a thing. Like, it is a risk to go pro. And some people are like, you know, why don't you, like, you can work and you can also try to compete if you want to have like the best of both worlds. I mean, I'm personally not that kind of person. That's like not how I live my life. I'd rather like all eggs one basket kind of person for me. I do think you can go pro at any age. I just think it would be much harder, but also because like other people are less likely to take the risk. I do think it's good to be realistic, where like you're probably less likely to get scouted. Like, when you're thinking about picking up like an 18-year-old, you're like, okay, this is someone I can mold. You're probably going to pick them up and they're going to be like a core piece ideally. I mean, I'm 29. I think I could compete as long as I wanted to be honest, at least. Like, I do think in the impact scene, like, I could continue to compete for as long as I want or as long as I enjoy. I don't think age matters a lot. It matters most like how good you are at the game. It matters the dedication you're putting into the game. And yeah, I think those are the main things. Are you good? Are you dedicated? Do people like playing with you? Are you enjoyable, or are you like open-minded? I think those are the main criticisms from like older players, is like maybe they're more closed-minded because they're like set in their ways, or they've been doing it a certain way for a while. But that doesn't really matter if you're an open-minded person. Dedication doesn't really matter if that's like all you're doing, I guess. And I mean, I do think like as long as you have enough money to like feed yourself and like obviously like esports can be something you make money off, and it can be something that doesn't make a lot of money, and it could just like, it could also just be a passion of yours. Like, you don't necessarily have to go pro either. Like, you can just enjoy playing games and keep working your job. I do think that there's a lot of options, and I think being pro is a really cool thing, but it's like you can still get a lot of joy of like playing with a team that like you just like competing and playing with people. I guess asking yourself like what you want from it. And if you want just like the team environment and like the camaraderie or whatever, like you don't have to like drop everything to gain that. So I would think like, I guess ask yourself like what you really want out of doing that, and weigh the risks. It's your life.
Yeah, I'd add on to what you're saying too. I agree. I do think, especially in like CS or FPSs, I think age is becoming more of a number, because I think, I don't know why, maybe it's more structured, but I think they're finding that older players bring a lot of value to teams. Because I'm even thinking about Kerrigan, I'm thinking
I
about
think you
Ray,
need a few old
you know?
players.
Yeah, like they have different intangibles like leadership skills or life skills. So, I mean, if you're 28 with no kids, I think it's really like, how serious are you? What kind of plan do you want to put together? What are we playing for? Those kinds of things. And I think you'd also agree, Goose, that becoming a pro is not the end. It's just the milestone along the way. And even if you like win a major or win a tournament, that's just another milestone, because what's the purpose? It's not to win once, it's to create a dynasty, to win again and again and again and again. I think it's definitely, like Goose said, thinking about what you want to do, what it would mean to you, and then getting the mindset out of it's an age thing. Because I think if that's a limiting mindset, that might be the one barrier that's keeping you from trying or going for it as hard as you want. So
yeah, I think you can definitely test and see if you even like competing, like without like committing to going pro. Like maybe you don't even like that lifestyle, or maybe
oh, it's brutal,
maybe
dude.
you really it is like a cool job to have, but it obviously has its own stressors. Like competing all the time is like not inherently not it is stressful. Yeah, and if you are really successful, it means you're probably traveling a ton, and maybe you don't see people that you want to see, or there is like obvious things to it that are, I mean, it comes with the job, and I think some people really like it, and some people it is a drawback. So I think it is something you can test the waters in. I wouldn't like obviously drop everything. You should probably see if like one, you're naturally inclined or like gifted in this game. Are you like a quick learner? Are you like, you know, obviously if you're very good, like if someone's really good, like they're not gonna care. Like people will pick up toxic players because they're so good. Like you can ignore things You know, not that I'm recommending pick up toxic traits, but like, people do that. So I'm saying like age is not like, oh my God, he's 28, but he's like so good at the game. No, but he's 28. Like they don't care. Like no one would care ultimately. If you have all these things to offer, like age at some point doesn't really matter, but it also depends like what kind of team, and there's a lot of factors, but I do think that there is always a place for like experienced people, but I also don't know how long you've been competing or like what your backstory is. But assuming you're like fresh 28, I mean, it is like whatever you want it to be, but I don't think that age in itself doesn't really matter. Like there's basketball players who are like 40, 50. Like I don't like people. I think people are really silly when they think like, oh, this guy's getting old. Like the only thing is like people start having kids or having like a lot of things they need to deal with in life, and it allocates their attention. If that person was just as motivated as they were when they were 18, then it doesn't like matter. If they're spending the time, if they're motivated, if they're keeping up and they're sharp, like it doesn't matter ultimately. Like you could probably compete as long as you wanted to if you like continue to hit those important things.
Yeah, because another thing I think people think, oh, my reaction speed is going down. It's like, okay, or you can just not be there and outthink them, so you don't need to use your reaction. Because if you have to just rely on your reactions, that means you're compensating for other things that you're not doing in the game, right? So I think that's the biggest.
You could have good crosshair placement, and then you don't have to react insanely fast.
Yeah. All right. Well, Goose, thanks so much for spending so much time with me and talking, being my first guest back. Please follow her on Twitter, follow her on Instagram, and also make sure that you cheer her team on in Stockholm for the ESL Championships, man.
Yes, and we'll have to link up again after Stockholm.
Absolutely. All right, girly. Thank you so much for coming. Thanks for coming, friends.
Thank you so much for having me.
Pieces. Take it easy, and always remember, friends, stronger mental wins. Pieces. Bye.
Bye.
All right, friends, thanks for coming. Please go follow Goose on Instagram, on Twitter. Make sure you cheer her on overseas with her team representing NA. If you want to learn more about me or follow me on Twitter and stuff, it's The Psych Sensei. If you want to give me a follow here or YouTube, Instagram, just Google Psych Sensei and you'll find me.